guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are in Romania, in Sighisoara, Transylvania, and we're on a quest for the beautiful medieval castles that are in this region. Today we're going to see the first one, Peles, and then we're going to head to see the Count Dracula's castle. The first one, Peles, is right here. You can see it. It's one of the most beautiful castles. Sighisoara is really beautiful, guys. When I came here, I was really amazed by the architecture. It has this beautiful medieval architecture. A lot of the buildings are in the Renaissance style and Gothic, which is one of the most amazing styles for me. I really love this architectural style. When I came here, it feels like as if you're in Austria or Switzerland. It's really worth visiting. I definitely recommend that. Peles Castle. I've been in love with that castle ever since I first saw the movie A Princess for Christmas with Roger Moore and Katie McGrath. It's an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. So they've used this castle actually as a background, and a lot of the scenery of the movie they were taken in front of that castle. The Peles Castle is located in the Carpathian Mountains and was built between 1873 and 1914. It was constructed for King Carol I, who was ruling Romania from 1866 until his death in 1914. The architectural style of the castle is a blend of Neo-Renaissance and Gothic, similar to the Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria, Germany. You can also see a Saxon influence in the interior courtyard facades inspired by the Northern European Alpine architecture. The interior decoration is mostly Baroque influenced, with heavy carved woods and exquisite fabrics. The castle has over 170 rooms, many with dedicated themes from different cultures. All the rooms are lavishly furnished and decorated to the slightest detail. You can see a vast collection of statues, paintings, furniture, impressive armor, gold, silver, ivory, tapestries, and rugs. The collection of weaponry and armor has over 4,000 pieces and is one of Europe's finest collection on display, dated between the 14th and 19th century. An interesting fact is that the castle was turned into a museum in 1953. However, the entire estate was closed between 1975 and 1990 during the communist regime, and was re-established as a heritage site and opened to the public again in 1990. So we saw the Peles Castle, which is very beautiful, and now we are at the Bran Castle, which you can see behind me, right here. The Bran Castle is also famous as the Count Dracula's castle, although Count Dracula actually never lived here. He only stayed for 2 days, and the actual Count Dracula is based on a fictional character from the author Bram Stoker, and because of him, this is why this castle is so popular right now, and it's attracting a lot of tourists. It's of course an infamous character, and everybody associates that with vampires, so it's quite interesting to see. The Bran Castle was built back in the 14th century, and it's a medieval fortress which is very well preserved, although it has been renovated in the past 3 centuries, which is normal of course, and some of the towers were also added later after the 14th century. Again, really worth visiting, guys. I definitely recommend it. Our next stop in Transylvania is a small town called Brasov. It's a very beautiful medieval town, again with a great architecture, a lot of interesting buildings, this small, beautiful street. It's just beautiful. You definitely will fall in love with it. And we're gonna show you around. Brasov is located in the southern Carpathian Mountains and is one of the most visited places in Romania because of the impressive medieval, Gothic, Baroque, and Renaissance architecture dating back from the 13th century. Brasov was settled by the German Saxons in mid-13th century. They were mainly involved in trade and crafts and contributed a lot to the architectural flavor of the city. Brasov was historically the intersection of trade routes linking the Ottoman Empire and Western Europe, allowing the Saxon merchants to obtain considerable wealth and exert a strong political influence. The Saxons built fortification walls around the city, which continually expanded, and a few of them can still be seen today. However, in 1689, a great fire destroyed the walled city almost entirely, and its rebuilding lasted several decades. Nowadays, you can walk around the narrow cobblestone streets and dive into the amazing medieval atmosphere in the city. An impressive historical site in Brasov is the Black Church, which is the largest Gothic church in Romania. On the second day of our trip in Transylvania, we headed to a town called Sighisoara. It's a very well-preserved medieval town, and it's actually part of UNESCO's World Heritage Site, so I'm really excited to check it out. It has houses dated back in the 13th centuries, most of them extremely well-preserved. An interesting fact about all these buildings here, the different houses, is that they were originally actually gray, but back in the 1930s, an artist decided to paint them in different bright colors, which of course gave the town a little bit more lively look, and I'm really excited to check it out. So let's go and see the town. Sighisoara is one of the most beautiful and best preserved medieval towns in Europe. The German Saxons, mainly craftsmen and merchants, settled the town back in the 12th century. For several centuries, Sighisoara played an important strategic and commercial role for Central Europe and became one of the most important cities in Transylvania. The historic center of Sighisoara has preserved the features of a small medieval fortified city, and in Eastern Europe it is one of the few fortified towns that are still inhabited. Designated as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO, Sighisoara is a unique place with 9 towers, cobblestone streets, colorful houses, and magnificent churches. One of Sighisoara's main point of attraction is the clock tower, built in the second half of the 14th century. The tower served as a gathering place for the town council until mid-16th century. From the top of the clock tower, you can see the red-tiled roofs of the old town and the intact 16th century Saxon houses lying between the narrow cobblestone streets. An interesting fact is that Sighisoara is the birthplace of Vlad Tepes, also known as Vlad Dracula. And now we're at the last stop in Transylvania, a town called Sibiu, which is quite popular for its iconic houses with ice, which you can see behind me. It's again a very well-preserved town with medieval houses, medieval architecture. It's very beautiful. And unfortunately, it's my last stop here. But the question, is Transylvania worth visiting? Definitely yes. If you like medieval architecture, if you want to just dive into this atmosphere which takes you back centuries ago, definitely worth visiting. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Just like Sighisoara and Brasov, Sibiu has a very well-preserved medieval architectural buildings and was European Capital of Culture in 2007. Sibiu was the largest and wealthiest of the 7 walled fortresses built in the beginning of the 12th century by the German Transylvanian Saxons. The fortifications of Sibiu made the city one of the most important ones in Central and Eastern Europe. Multiple rings were built around the city, most of them made out of clay bricks. Nicknamed the City with Eyes because of the iconic houses with eyes, Sibiu is a very popular tourist destination and is known for its culture, history, gastronomy, and its diverse architecture.